Namaste everyone, Ram here, your DNA hacker. I've been MIA for a little while because we just had our live event here in Miami, the first DNA Hackers Retreat with a focus on the art of stress-free living, of course named after the book, The Art of Stress-Free Living, which we're on the verge. I'm on the verge of getting actual physical copies. You can get a digital copy, the link is below. So I wanted to continue with another great video where I want you to understand the consequences of a life of chronic stress. What is the link between stress, insomnia, lack of sleep, the inability to sleep and get good quality sleep, and Alzheimer's disease or neurodegenerative disorders? In reality, many neurological and psychiatric illnesses have their ties to sleep-wake cycle disruptions. So my difficulty in regulating my sleep and waking. So I may be feeling awake when I should be asleep and vice versa. So then you're like during the day you're tired but you can't go to sleep because you're at work, let's say, and then you get home and you're very restless. This is triggered by changes that I describe in the book, The Art of Stress-Free Living, where I explain how stress feeds into an inability to sleep or to fall asleep or to wake up more often or to have less quality sleep. And then that inability to get good quality sleep, the disruption of this sleep-wake cycle, feeds back to stress, and it changes your stress hormone levels. And these changes in stress hormone levels then feed back and cause this vicious cycle. I've seen it before with people close to me or clients where chronic stress just makes it so that they progressively have poor and poor quality of sleep. And of course, this inability to sleep then triggers a vast array of different neurological and mental health issues. And no wonder that then stress is considered an exacerbator or cause of many conditions. And in The Art of Stress-Free Living, I describe how stress is linked to inflammation, to chronic illnesses, and how you can avoid many of these chronic illnesses by controlling stress. And actually, I teach also in a previous video, I teach how to convert that stress into a flow state. So you may want to check that out, my video on flow state. And I have an article on that as well on medium.com. All right, so just a quick little background. If you're not familiar, this is just going to be very simple, very surface, just to get an idea. Alzheimer's disease is initiated, at least in part, by excessive amounts of a protein called beta amyloid, which I also wrote over here with the symbol, the Greek symbol beta. So beta amyloid. And of course, sleep disturbances are very common, especially early on, and may be a root contributor to Alzheimer's. So when I was about to leave Yale University, I became very interested in the connection between stress and neurodegenerative disorders, because I noticed that similar pathways that were being activated during stress, certain aspects of degeneration of the neurons were being seen during stress, were very similar to some that were also seen in Alzheimer's. And I won't be describing that today. A lot of that research is still very novel, and I myself didn't continue that research. I had a colleague who continued it right before I left. But it did support my notion that stress, a lifetime of chronic stress, triggers neurodegenerative disorders, like Alzheimer's. But what you will see here now is a clear tie between chronic stress and a protein, beta amyloid, that is involved in some of the pathology of Alzheimer's. So when you are awake, obviously, your nerve activity, your neurons are going to be very active. And another thing that happens is that when you're awake, your beta amyloid production goes up. And it's not that the beta amyloid is something negative, it's something that has to be regulated. Like anything in your body, everything has to be in balance. You have too much or too little, problems arise. Stress is like that. It's like an inverted U. So if I'm in the balance point, then this would be ideal function. But as I move towards excess, my cognitive function declines. And as I move too little, my cognitive function also declines. Same thing happens here with beta amyloid. You don't want it, you want it to be tightly regulated. Rest seems to keep it in check. And you'll see why in a second. So when you're awake, nerve activity goes up, beta amyloid production goes up. Obviously what you would expect is not sleep, deep sleep. The high quality, slow wave sleep is the one that you want and is the one that's disrupted by stress. So people who are chronically stressed get less quality deep sleep, and therefore the opposite trend is seen. More nerve activity, the brain doesn't really rest as well as it should. You're awake during the night, you're awake for longer periods during a 24-hour cycle, and this will trigger during sleep. If you don't sleep, it will trigger an increase in beta amyloid. So what should happen is that when you're sleeping, these two go down, and your brain not only stops producing beta amyloid, but flushes it out. And that involves a special cell called a glial cell, and it's not the common neuron that will be conducting nerve impulses that you would commonly study if you're in neuroscience. It's another important brain cell, but it serves other functions. One of its functions is to help clean out and flush out. So during deep sleep, your brain will flush itself out of bulk metabolites. What are metabolites? Breakdown products from reactions. Things that you may not necessarily need or want it to accumulate. They may accumulate to toxic levels, and that's exactly what you want to eliminate are protein debris as well. So for example, something like beta amyloid. And of course, if this doesn't happen, you're getting less quality sleep, then you're going to be triggering more stress, which triggers poor sleep, worsening sleep, and conditions such as Alzheimer's, and possibly through some sort of beta amyloid process. Because one of the things that happens during insomnia, remember we have sleep wave cycle disruptions. We also have changes in the stress hormones. This makes this process worse, poor sleep. So my quality of sleep is going down, my beta amyloid levels are going up in the brain, and I'm not flushing them out, and this leads to, and has been shown to, in both animal and human studies, to lead to nerve cell injury. So your brain is getting damaged, and it leads to increased tangle pathology. These protein tangles or beta amyloid tangles are classic of Alzheimer's pathology. So it seems like if you do get your quality sleep and you're not in the insomnia realm, then you avoid all of these. And these two here are classic Alzheimer's disease right here. Nerve cell injury, you get neuronal loss in particular brain regions, and also tangle pathology. So often people may say that there is a genetic link to Alzheimer's, and certainly there will be some genes associated with Alzheimer's, but that does not mean that Alzheimer's is caused by some genetic problem. If anything, if there were a genetic link, if this is happening, chronic stress, and thereby some sleep issue, and of course, in my early research, I found that there is more of a direct link that does not involve sleep. So there is multiple. Sorry, I got a phone call, so let me interject there. I mentioned that stress, there's multiple pathways that can lead it to influence Alzheimer's. One is through sleep, the disruptions that I just mentioned, and two, more direct pathways involving certain molecular changes that I found were very similar between chronic stress and between Alzheimer's or neurodegenerative conditions. And of course, what we want to focus on here is quality over quantity. And some have even gone to suggest that if we were to improve the quality of sleep of Alzheimer's patients, that they may actually, you may retard some of the progression of the condition. So I really urge you to work at reducing stress at Rama's Rooted Tree on my DNA Hacker events. My next one will be in September, so we will be having, if you want more information on that, please comment below. I will be posting links on future videos once we have a location and a date. But you really do not want to take stress lightly. A lot of people manage stress, they don't conquer it. A lot of people think they're managing stress, but they continue to live on stress. They think that they thrive on stress, but they're actually causing a lot of harm. You can actually live 100% stress and disease-free, and I can teach you how to do that. And my this last event was phenomenal, and I really would love to see you there. And of course, in terms of quality over quantity, well, good quality sleep is going to lower stress levels. It's going to start to regulate your stress hormones and get them back, like cortisol levels, so that when you go to sleep, you can actually go into sleep more peacefully and relax and go to sleep quickly. You should be able to fall asleep and to go into that deep, slow wave sleep state, that quality, for longer periods at night and not be so restless and waking up. Of course, quality sleep can also, has been shown to also decrease beta amyloid production and clear out the brain of anything that needs to be flushed out that could become toxic waste. And of course, this is a rejuvenating process. It's not about this old school view that you need to get your 8 hours of sleep. It's really more about the quality that you're getting. If you sleep 4 hours, but those 4 hours are magnificent, it's better than 8 hours of a lot of restless sleep. Okay? Well, I hope that served you well. I'm Ram. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.